What's up, everyone? Just wanted to take a minute and make a video mainly about this new app that I just put online. Also, thought I would take a minute too to talk about some of the older ones that I've made and just kind of some inspirations, I guess, in history of how I got to here. Yeah, so maybe I'll just jump right into this one. So this is BLOCKWORK that just released. It is an app for drawing quilt blocks and then seeing what the quilt will look like. So this is kind of the interface. I guess one disclaimer is that it's best on web. I've tried it on my phone and it doesn't, sorry, I mean a desktop. It doesn't work so great on phone, but you can try it if you want to. But anyway, so this is the interface. You get 4 colors to choose from, the background color, and then you can draw squares or half square triangles. So these dots here are basically which color you have selected, and they kind of alternate. So whichever one you click first, it's going to change the primary color. And then the second dot, this is the second one, which is your second color to the half square triangle. So it kind of alternates as you click. So if you click on the same one, let me see, you can end up in the same spot, which of course kind of cancels that out. But anyway, so yeah, this is kind of the default. Hopefully that makes sense. And then as you click here, basically you can paint the block. Let's paint a different color here. Yeah, that's a nice little 9 patch. And then, so there's some check marks down here and some little sliders that do other things. So this checkbox here is how you get to the kind of the quilt view mode. Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. So you can see basically the block repeats. Yeah, so then you can also change how big how many divisions this grid has. So down from 2 all the way up through, I think 9 is how it's set up. And it does remember, so it doesn't delete anything. Also, I'll just say there's no undo function. So if you do something, you just kind of have to redo it, because I don't know how to add an undo function to this. So that's what it is. And let's see what else. So these buttons here, this will kind of basically clear everything and start over. As I said, there's no undo, so yeah, that kind of just deletes everything. Let's see. So there's also a function so that you can draw 2 different quilt blocks at the same time. Let me show you that real quick. Let's see, what's a cool block? If we just do like this, sorry, I guess I didn't say too. This toggles back and forth between the square and the half square triangle. And if you click on the half square triangle, it will rotate it around. So let's just draw us a little block here. See what that looks like. That's a nice little quilt. But 2 block quilt will basically change so that you get to draw the alternating blocks as well. So let me paint something in here. And there's a little text up here that shows which one you're editing. Yeah, so if you change this over to edit block 2, then we can draw in something here. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so there you can kind of see, let's put one little half square in here too. Maybe up in this corner. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's starting to look like something cool. A nice quilt there. And so you can change this as to see what a bigger, more blocks would look like. And when you switch back to the paint mode, it will kind of default back to whatever your block size is set up. That's kind of the basics, I guess, of how to paint a block. The colors will kind of shuffle everything around. You can do this to switch the color palette around. And and there's a few different options as well for the color palettes. Yeah, and you can kind of shuffle those once you get there. What else? So then I guess, yeah, kind of the main other two options here are this rotation and color variant. So the rotation will sort of, let me find a better one to show that with. Maybe actually if I turn off 2 block here, yeah, this will be good. Okay, so the rotations basically spin everything around. This one kind of, you can kind of see, it's like they're rotating, I think mainly in like a little 4 block section, and it's kind of repeated here. So there's a few options here. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So there's a lot that hopefully you can do. Some of these later ones are a little bit more kind of weird. Like this one, I can't even remember exactly what some of these do. They're almost random at this point. This one kind of spirals around, I think. Anyway, let's go back here to one of these. Yeah, so that's what the rotations do. The color variant will only, kind of the same way that the 2 block quilt is only on every other block, the color variants are the same. And it kind of basically just reassigns the colors of the second block, the alternating blocks. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of just, yeah, like I said, shuffling the colors around for those alternate blocks. I think that's mainly it. This idea for the kind of these alternating blocks and this like sort of a connecting block between the main blocks. Basically this whole app is inspired by this book called The It's Okay If You Sit on My Quilt book by Mary Ellen Hopkins, which is possibly my favorite quilt book. It's got like tips for making quilts kind of faster, like sewing strips together. Yeah, just a few different things like that. But then it's also got this idea of kind of these connecting blocks between the main two. And then it's got a bunch of kind of a catalog of different blocks in it. So yeah, that's kind of where this came from. Yeah, and then this last little button here will basically, it draws some of the blocks from that book. Let's see. So yeah, this is one. You got the little title here too. This one's called North Wind. These all came from that book. There's a few of them in here. I think there's about 16, I think. I won't show all of them, but there's a few in here. And I've got some connector blocks built in to some of these as well. So you can kind of play around with that. I think that's mainly it. Is there anything else I'm trying to remember on this one? I think that's it. Yeah, so I would love to see if you make anything cool. Please show me, send it, DM me, whatever, tag me, put me on your cool quilts if you make any. Yeah, so that's kind of it. This toggle back and forth. After you go into quilt mode, of course you can't click anything. It sort of slides your paint thingies off to the side. Hopefully that all makes sense. And these kind of the ones that are like preloaded, you can edit them too if you want to play around with them. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all for this one. Let me show you. I'm gonna move on and show. Yeah, this is one of my older apps that I have had up for a little while now, based on I think it's called 3x3, and it's basically a set of quilt blocks. It's pretty similar to the BLOCKWORK, except these are kind of preloaded. There's a color variant just down here off screen. Let me set this here. Can I scroll down on this? Okay, sorry, let me scroll down here a little. There we go. Color variant, yeah. Set that to 0. So basically all of these are loaded in here. It's kind of similar. This one is set so that you can kind of have a different size quilt in the X and the Y. But you can also, similar, have 2 different blocks here at the same time. And this one you can kind of turn the grid on and off. Oh, the one last thing I did not show is the download button. This will basically just take a screenshot essentially of this window and save it. Yeah, it kind of puts the title as the date timestamp. So that's what that does. Also, this button is kind of acting weird. Like, I can only click the top little bit of it here. I don't have a clue why that's happening. I don't actually have a clue what I'm doing at all. If anyone knows why it's doing that, could you please tell me? Let me know. Can you see how, like, I can't click anywhere except just on the top little portion of that? But sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's not working very well right now. Anyway, back to this one. Yeah, so there's I think 50 different blocks. This one I made a whole other YouTube video about, so you can check that one out if you would like to see a little more about this one. But it's pretty fun to play with too, I think. You can kind of rotate. These rotations, I think, are pretty similar to the ones in the BLOCKWORK. The color variants are a little different. I kind of added some new ones. Yeah, this one kind of has the shuffle colors as well. Yeah, I think that's about all for this one. And then kind of my oldest app that I've got is this rectangle generator. And essentially what this one's doing is it kind of sets up a basic grid and just draws some random shapes in here based on the color palette. Yeah, so this first kind of basic version is just, you don't really have any options, you just click shuffle, and it, yeah, kind of cycles through, yeah, some different options, or kind of different drawings of random rectangles. And essentially what I've kind of done is, yeah, convert these into kind of a cool pattern. Then there's kind of an advanced version of this, which adds a few controllers. You can kind of see the grid here in this one. And yeah, I think it shows a little better kind of what's going on here. Kind of sets up this grid, draws, and then just kind of picks random spots and draws the rectangles in there. Yeah, and you can kind of change, say if you only want a few rectangles in here. Sometimes they overlap too, so it's not actually as many as it's showing. Let's see, and you can draw a whole bunch as well. Could be kind of interesting. And then there's kind of one final version, the extreme version of this, where there's like way too many controllers. You can set up like multiple grids and draw these shapes in here. See what that looks like without the grid. It's kind of cool, kind of a cool quilt. And this one, I'm not gonna go through all of these, but I did set up this little shrug button. It will kind of cycle through a few different settings for different inputs and kind of what these will look like. So you can kind of see there a little bit of a taste of what you can do with this one. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna cycle through a few of these so you can kind of see the different settings jumping. Just trying to find one here too. Yeah, let's stop on this one for a second. Okay, so that's kind of all of the quilt apps that I have made. And so I thought it might be fun to share kind of some of my inspirations for where this all came from. Yeah, so basically how I got into programming computer programming and making these little app thingies was when I was in college. I saw an artist. I did an art studio minor in school, and one of the classes we had to do was kind of a lecture series where they brought in different artists once a week. And there was one in particular, a guy named Jason Salavon, who came in and he did creative coding, kind of computer programming as art. And yeah, so I'm going to show you a few of those pieces that he showed. And this is basically why I started programming. So this is a piece he did called The Grand Unification Theory. And it's 4 different movies and a frame of the movie taken every second and then arranged in these grids from dark to light. So this is Star Wars, this one's Snow White, this one is It's a Wonderful Life, and then this one is Deep Throat. So, and let me just click on one here. So this is Star Wars. Yeah, so you can just see it's literally every frame, and then he's just programmed this app to, or kind of, sorry, he wrote a computer program. These are not apps at this point. He's much more rigorous and thorough than me, but organized every frame. You can kind of see some of the scrolly on the black there. That's cool. And they're organized, yeah, like this. And so all 4 of these movies are organized like this, and you can kind of see how they all kind of show, are all kind of similar when looked at in this light. This one's Snow White. And I had never seen anything like this before. Like, I did not know you could do computer programming like this. And this completely blew my mind. One more is, this one is called The Top Grossing Film of All Time, which at the time was, of course, Titanic. So this is every single frame of the movie Titanic. And then every frame is averaged, color averaged to a single color, and then arranged kind of from start to finish. So this is the whole movie as basically pixels of color. Yeah, here you can kind of see the individual. So like each one of these is a frame of the movie. And I just thought this was absolutely the coolest thing ever. That you could, I mean, it's like such a basic concept to like take a frame of a movie and like condense it down to one color. But yeah, I just never seen this before. And so I saw this lecture, and this is why I started computer programming. It was because I wanted to do stuff like this. I thought this was so cool. So anyway, that's kind of how I got into it. There's a computer programming, I guess, kind of language called processing. It's like a little app geared towards creative coding. And that was kind of what I started with. And yeah, and that's basically the same thing that I still use now. It's just a web version of the same thing. Yeah. Then one other project that I actually worked on in school that's kind of much sort of the mother of my apps is I worked on a project with 2 of my professors in architecture school, Gary Rorhbacher and Ann Filson and Rorhbacher. And they had designed this series of furniture called AtFAB, which is basically a set of furniture pieces designed to be made out of sheet plywood and cut out of CNC machines, with the idea being that you can, instead of having to ship furniture, you can just ship the files around, download the files basically, and then make them anywhere locally out of sheet materials. So a part of this also that I got to work on was that these were kind of designed to be modifiable, so that the shapes didn't have to be fixed, but like a table, for instance, could be kind of any size within the sheet of plywood, and yeah, then that be cut out of and built out of the furniture. So I actually did end up writing an app in college for this. Let me see, I think I've got a screenshot here. Yeah, it kind of looks like this. And so you could kind of have these controllers, and it would put out a CAD file that could then be used to cut out a custom piece of furniture. And yeah, so this one actually ended up getting published a few times in Make magazine, and this person who wrote this article made a custom table using the app that I made. There's my little app there. So yeah, definitely really proud of this one. Yeah, so that's kind of how we got here, I guess. I think that's mainly it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to say here. Thanks for listening to me ramble a little bit here. Yeah, like I said, if you try out the BLOCKWORK and make anything cool in it, please share it with me. I'd love to see it. I think that's all for now. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up. Yeah, thanks. Love you. Bye.